Hi and welcome to the Bruce Channel. I'm Bruce and we were away last week. In the 2 weeks since our last get-together, the world has twirled around some 14 times. And in that time, it seems for some of us, the world ended. We all leave this mortal coil sooner or later. But few of us leave it more unexpectedly, as shockingly, as the person I was privileged to call a friend, and who did me great honor by calling me a friend. Those of you who know of whom I speak know the accuracy of those words. That's why there was no Bruce Channel last week. And in these 14 or so spins, more has happened than I can possibly cover today, especially as my window of time was narrowed, so I'll hit some of them, ignore some others. And the one topic that I alluded to 2 weeks ago, the one that I intended to give voice to last week due to its timing's out of the window anyway, so I will postpone it yet one more time. All right, so among the many things my friend did well was live large. He loved his kids, his family with seldom seen passion, but he lived with seldom seen passion. He had what was called a towering intelligence, and he was an intellectual, but he wasn't stuffy. He loved intense conversations. He had a perpetual curiosity about everything, but he equally loved corny jokes. So we will kickstart today with this, and he would have loved it. Yes, the dandelions. And you know what? I think that's probably true just about for everyone. I saw some snow on the national map in some parts of the Western Rockies, but even in Milwaukee last week, and the grass was green, the trees were budding. And sure, it's further along here. The trees are fully leafed out. The crocus and the azaleas are gone. And even the locust tree flowers came and went. But the dandelions, they thrive indeed. All right, so you know what I don't understand? I don't understand how most Republicans can so easily dismiss concerns about global warming. What we know is that for something like, 14 out of the last 15 years, each year set a record for being the warmest on record, but the record only lived a year until the following year. Now, we know that. I'm not a scientist, so while that evidence is compelling, I'm not an authority, so, maybe we're getting warmer because of, instead of burning carbon-based fuels, maybe it's because of a shift in the Earth's axis. I don't know. But exactly because I'm not an authority is why I want to know what those who are authorities say. And overwhelmingly, depending on which poll you cite, but overwhelmingly, 96, 97, 99% of those who are authorities say climate change is real. And not only is it real, they further say we're nearing the tipping point. So, okay, as some of you may know, because my ex and I agreed we didn't want kids, I've got no skin in the game. If the human population goes extinct in a couple hundred years, or more likely marches backward into the Stone Age, I've got no progeny to worry about. I don't care. Except I do. But, most people do have kids. And again, that's what I don't understand. I know from first-person conversations with many Republicans, they universally love their kids. They love the grandkids. So if they love their kids and their grandkids more than life itself, I don't understand. It's a juxtaposition of ideas why they're suddenly carefree about what might befall their progeny. Senator, what do you think about climate change? Well, I'm not a scientist is almost always the beginning of their answer. Fine, I'm not either. But then they almost always follow with something like, I don't think we should listen to the alarmists. I don't think the facts are fully established. I know how it works. I know there's a party line. I know that Democrats and Republicans each have their special interests. They've got high-paying lobbyists. They've got to pay heed to them. But, if it's possible that Florida goes underwater, if it's possible that hotter and hotter summers and longer droughts will cause starvation, migration, and more war, if that is possible, and the future is possibly unthinkably bleak for their kids and grandkids, you'd think that for the love of those families, the politicians would let go of their lobbyist teats. Late this week, a new study just announced that unchecked, large parts of the Pacific Ocean, specifically around Hawaii and the U.S. West Coast, may suffocate. No oxygen, unable to sustain life. And that's maybe just 15 or 20 years. Now, I know there are those who genuinely believe climate change is a hoax. And okay, fair point of view. But for those individuals, wouldn't it be prudent, for the kids' and grandkids' sake, to entertain the notion that maybe they are making a mistake? Have they never been mistaken? And that's what I don't understand. All right, so the primaries aren't over, but the races pretty much are. Donald Trump went 5 for 5 this past week, drubbing Ted Cruz. Hillary Clinton took 4 out of 5, so the frontrunners are now very close to clinching it. The Stop Trump movement hasn't done any stopping at all, and that's not for lack of effort. Meanwhile, endorsements for Trump continue to come in. Legendary basketball coach Bobby Knight coached Indiana to several national championships. He endorsed Donald Trump. Indiana's governor, Mike Pence, he endorsed Ted Cruz. Indiana votes this Tuesday. Oh, next door, Ohio Governor John Kasich remains in the race, although no one is sure why. And anyway, speaking of Ted Cruz, hoping to stay first in the news cycle for a couple of days, this week he announced his choice for vice president, Carly Fiorina. Of course, for that to mean anything, they actually have to get the nomination. And I've seen this before. Usually it's the person who's not winning, who's not leading, who's trying to generate interest. Usually doesn't work, but his announcement lost its primacy when former Speaker of the House just resigned last October, John Boehner, while speaking at Stanford University this week. Understand, this is a lifelong Republican. He said that Ted Cruz is, and I quote, Lucifer in the flesh. And then he continued, I have Democrat friends, I have Republican friends, I get along with almost everyone, but I have never worked with a more miserable son of a bitch in my life. Imagine what he might have said if he wasn't in front of an audience and, watching what he said. Oh, and then I forget who, but somebody then quipped, hey, that's giving Lucifer a bad name. This has been a primary season like no other. Hey, let me tell you about my book, Shrink. Or wait, I can let others do it. Welcome back. Remember, you can write to us at thebrucechannel@yahoo.com. You can see all of our previous episodes at either tinyurl.com/brucechannel or our Facebook page, The Bruce Channel. By the way, I don't know if I'm going to keep this, but earlier this week, I needed to look like Walt Disney. We'll see. I do know that it's, if I need it, or if I don't need it, it's a lot easier to lose it quickly. Similar to longer hair, but probably not. We'll see. All right, so not to dwell on it, but I see NBC has begun promoting the Olympics. Naturally, they bought the rights to broadcast the Olympics from Brazil. They paid a record $1.23 billion. That's B with a B, as in Bravo. But there's, trouble in paradise. I don't think they're going to cancel the Olympics. It's virtually impossible. It's even less likely that they would hold the various events at different places around the world, which, though difficult, could be done. They won't do that. No one's buying tickets. Well, not literally no one, but they're only about half sold. Of course, there's reasons. Many of the natural waterways, lakes, rivers, lagoons, some of these things they're going to be using for some of the events, they smell like sewage. That's because in Brazil, the untreated sewage goes there. Oh, and they're impeaching the president. Some are calling it a coup d'etat. Maybe not likely, but nothing like a little government overthrow to keep things interesting. And then there's that pesky little Zika virus, the one if you're bitten by a mosquito carrying the Zika virus and you're pregnant, your baby might be born deformed. I'm not pregnant, but I'm not going. All right, some quick recommendations. Because I was away for several days, my time devoted to reading John Meacham's Destiny and Power, The American Odyssey of George Herbert Walker Bush, my time reading was curtailed. But when we last met, I'd barely begun. I am well into it, although not close to completion. I can unambiguously give you a thumbs up. It's a good book. So in a week, maybe 2, maybe 3, I'll assemble a collection of anecdotes and little tidbits that we didn't know about President number 41. Iterating. The book is a winner. Okay, some bids. Can't go wrong with cute animals. And as an actor, I'd heard that don't share a scene with kids or animals. So I'm not sharing a scene, I'm sharing this with you. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, this one I saw. I'm thinking about trying it. We'll see. Might be beyond me. Yeah, see that one? My dad could walk on his hands, so it's tempting. Which reminds me of a story I've often told it, but never here. My dad could walk on his hands. And as a kid, he would climb anything. So I'm in the 5th grade, maybe the 6th. I don't remember why. I guess we were going someplace after, but he drove to school to pick me up, and he got there a little bit early, 5-10 minutes or so. So I went to the playground to wait. He went to the horizontal ladder. He got on top and walked back and forth on his hands. He wasn't showing off, he was just killing time. Maybe he was testing himself to see if he could still do it. But one of the kids in my class saw him and recognized him. Shouted out. I didn't even know he was there. "Bruce, was your dad in the circus?" Not to my knowledge. But I think I will try to do it. This is him when he was in the army, standing on his hands. Okay, lastly, strictly for the sake of fun, 2 things for you to look up on YouTube. At YouTube, first do a search for Sir Paul McCartney and Bruce Springsteen live at Hyde Park 2010. It is a hoot. It is a real hoot. But the second one, this is a sublime viewing experience. Some 22 minutes long. Again, it's at YouTube. Search for Paul McCartney at Kennedy Center Honors Complete. As always true at these medal ceremonies, several individuals are honored. In 2012, it included Sir Paul, Oprah Winfrey, the recently departed Okie from Muskogee, Merle Haggard. But this one in 2012 was a little different than they usually are. And yeah, there were lots of Illuminati, lots of big bright lights, both being honored and in attendance. Sting was there, Sam Waterston, John Lithgow, Forrest Whitaker, lots of folks. At the beginning of this that you'll see on YouTube, Alec Baldwin did the bio narrative, and I'm not going to tell you more. But when you've got 25 minutes or so, and you just want to be swept away, do the YouTube search. Again, it's Paul McCartney at Kennedy Center Honors Complete. You'll be glad. You'll be blown away. Oh, and crank your speakers. When I was watching that, I noticed something I'd never noticed before. It's not a big deal. In fact, it's completely unimportant. But when I clap, my right fingers hit my left palm. I'm right-handed. But in watching this film, this video, both President Obama, we know, and famously Sir Paul, right? Boom, boom, boom. They're left-handed. And so watching the various people clap, those two stuck out. I mean, just, wow, that's weird. They're left-handed. I never made that observation. I don't know if that's universally true or not, but just, as I said, unimportant. All right, last thought. Last year I learned of it after the fact. This year I'm ahead of the fact. This upcoming Saturday. It is annually the first Saturday in May, and it is Naked Gardening Day, worldwide. So, forewarned is forearmed, go have some fun. Forewarned is maybe it's bare arm. Forewarned is bare arm. All right, I've got nothing to follow that. So, for this week, that's it. I know it always cannot be true. That is to say, I know it cannot always be true. 2 weeks ago, it proved to be the opposite. Nevertheless, and said genuinely, I hope your upcoming week is the best one you've ever had.